All right, welcome to one more episode or new episode of Seven Figure Screw Ups. And today or tonight here in US and for Rui in Australia this morning, I have absolute pleasure of talking to Rui Dong, who is not only a successful seven-figure online entrepreneur, but also my very close friend. Hey Rui, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Buzzy.
Oh, great having you here. So let me introduce Rui firstly. So Rui is running a very successful multiple seven figures e-commerce business, which he started maybe 2.5 years ago. And before that, he made a transition. His start was in the corporate life on the finance side. Then he made a transition into info products. So he's done several things, and I know a little bit more, but one of the things he's done successfully was build a membership site for learning Chinese, which is still working as of today and is pretty automated. And he also is guru or ninja when it comes to Infusionsoft. So he's Infusionsoft consultant and helps businesses when he has time with Infusionsoft automation. But really his big thing over the last 2.5 years have been e-commerce. So, and one thing I'll add to that, he's also an absolute ninja when it comes to Facebook ads. So he's one that I have questions nonstop, and I'm sure some stories will be related to that as well. All right, so Rui, first question, we'll talk about one of your screw-ups. I know entrepreneurs have many screw-ups. We'll talk about one of your favorites today. So my question for you is, where were you or what were you trying to accomplish before that screw-up or failure happened? Where were you in your life, in your business in general?
Okay, well, so I was running that Mandarin business, as you were saying, the info product after going out of the corporate jobs. And what had happened is that Google Panda and all this other stuff sort of hit, and I lost all the organic rankings, and that kind of forced me to learn AdWords, and then later on to learn Facebook as well. AdWords kind of came it came okay because I sort of saw some of the keywords I was working well or whatever. But what wasn't working too great was Facebook, and I saw that Facebook had a lot of potential, and that I thought that it would be a good source of traffic to get more subscribers on the website.
Got it. Just I'll interrupt you because maybe some people don't know what is Google Panda. So just to clarify, so you were running a membership site, a paid membership site for people to learn Chinese Mandarin, right? And
yes,
it was the way you were getting traffic to that site was through organic search, mainly through people.
That's right. Yeah,
Google, right? And then one of these famous, amazing Google updates or Google slaps, also known as Google slaps in the internet marketing world, came about called Google Panda, right? That was like 2008, 9, later.
No, yeah, they came in different waves. So there was some that came then. There was also some that came in, I think it was 2011 as well. There was another slap. So they've done Panda, Penguin. They've had sort of a few along the way. And one of the ones that hit me is because before all these slaps came along, you could build up traffic by having backlinks from all these different places, and I had backlinks coming from places that Google didn't really like, and they penalized. So I was originally page 1, and the result would be in the top 3, sometimes in the top 1, and there was just a ton of traffic coming out of there. So I had it easy for a little bit, but I
had an open tap.
That's exactly what it was, and I thought it was going to be like that forever. And this was a good lesson for me, which is that anything can change, that you're playing in their playground, and that it was if it wasn't for that slap, I would never have learned about paid advertising. I would never learn about PPC. And for some reason with AdWords, I made that work fairly quickly. So I was profitable within almost the first month. But with Facebook, what I'd noticed is that I was getting no ROI. I just kept on spending money. I kept hearing about other people that were doing well on Facebook, and this was kind of in the early days, so they didn't have all these amazing targeting features that they have now. Your custom, your lookalike audiences, and you can upload your email lists and you can target them as well. So, and retargeting all this, and none of this stuff was available back then. So this was Facebook advertising in its early days.
You're talking about 2009, 10, somewhere around that time.
This would have been in let's see, around 2011, I think it was.
2011. Yeah. So you get hit. You basically, your traffic goes down. I assume your revenue goes down. You say that with Google AdWords. You want to make it right. Facebook ads, right? So you start the journey of learning how to make Facebook ads work, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, right? So
Yes, that's right. So, the AdWords was going really well, but then AdWords, for whatever reasons, the cost started to creep slowly. And I was like, and after what I learned about, after the experience with getting slapped by Google with the organic search rankings, and basically the traffic dropping by like 90%, I wanted, that kind of taught me to sort of diversify your traffic sources a little bit. And so AdWords was going well for about a year or so, like really, really well. And then slowly it started to the cost started to increase. So that's when I decided that, what, I need Facebook as an additional sort of a source of traffic and something to something to learn and to master. And at that time, I really didn't think that was going to work. I mean, there weren't very many. There were a lot of proven case studies of AdWords, of people who made AdWords work. But Facebook, there weren't a lot of people back then who really, really made Facebook work. I mean, there were a lot of people in I think in doing dating or doing like all kinds of like scammy stuff as well. Who I think they made Facebook work, but I didn't see very many sort of reputable people who made it work. And so I was just spending, money, and I just felt like a lot of time I was just wasting a lot of money. I was spending, at that time it was, like $500, $1,000, whatever, a month on Facebook, and a lot of times I was like, I'm getting, because back then Facebook was cheap, so I was getting all these clicks, and they're very, very cheap clicks, and I'm not getting any results. I mean, what the hell am I doing wrong? It's got to. And
so you were able to get clicks, right? So you were spending $500 to $1,000 a month. You're using Facebook to make it work for Chinese learning course, but you're not basically getting people to opt in or buy, right?
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes I got them to opt in, but then they didn't buy. And then when they did, and then other times just opt in. And I did understand the reasons for it. Maybe it was bad targeting, or I don't know. But the clicks were fairly cheap, so that gave me some scope to kind of experiment with it. But the thing is that I kind of left the campaigns. I let them roll. Because the other thing as well is I had the AdWords running as well. So it's easy to let the ads keep on spending money, and so I just kept on plunking all this money into it, and that was. It got a little bit out of hand, and over time, that money ended up being, because it was spent over years, and the money kind of really added up after time with no ROI, which certainly if you're first starting out, that's not something that I would encourage. I think one of those things you got to be very, very disciplined with your spending. And because I had that other revenue source coming, which was the AdWords coming, I wasn't as disciplined as I should have been with the Facebook stuff. Anyway, I tried experimenting. I tried sort of various things, and then Facebook started to advance their features as well. And then, so I mean, there was a period of time when I was thinking that, I'm sure that I can make it work, but this is just really, really hard. And maybe it's just not, maybe it's just the Mandarin side. Maybe it's not meant to work for this sort of stuff. Maybe it only works for specific industries. I mean, people were putting out quizzes and stuff. Is Facebook going to work for you? That was the thing, And they asked, I think it was Perry Marshall, maybe, I don't know who it was, and they put like questions about what industry you're in, and what you're trying to sell, the specific product it is, and what the price point is, and they use this to determine whether or not your product is suitable for Facebook advertising.
Yeah. And so that was how long was that period where you trying to make Facebook work? So that's my first question. So how long? The second, what kind of impact did it have on you? Like constantly trying and not getting results.
So that would probably have been over a period of about 4 years. That was like it was on and off, and then but towards the end it got more on. So the reasons on and off is like initially I had AdWords and I was like, it doesn't work, switch it off. And then I was like, what, I've heard, I think it can work, switch back on. And so it was kind of like, it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster as well, because I mean, like the site was doing okay, it wasn't doing amazing initially, and so that money counted, and I. Like it really was kind of difficult emotionally to put up with that, because you don't know, like you're spending all this money, like am I just wasting my time learning about this stuff? I mean, back then you didn't know that Facebook was going to be the next big advertising platform. I didn't know that, and there was all this uncertainty about whether or not this thing would ever prove itself out, and that should I be devoting my time learning about doing more stuff on SEO, doing more stuff. I mean, there's so many channels to look at that I wasn't sure if I was just wasting all this money for nothing. I already felt bad for wasting so much money as well, and
sounds like a lot of self-doubt on a daily basis.
And
spending money
all the time. Yeah, all the time. I mean, I looked at this thing. I was like, today you spent this much money and no results. Okay, cool. It wasn't fun to do. It was a little bit of a shock on the confidence as well. I wasn't sure that maybe I'm not making it work. Maybe I must be doing something wrong, and probably I was doing something wrong as well.
And then you see all these other gurus saying how they're making all these millions using Facebook, and how you feel like you're the only one of not being able to Facebook work. What happened to everyone?
Well, I felt like I felt like a real idiot not being able to make a profit out of it. I was like, what the hell's going on? I mean, eventually there was sales coming in, but then it was at a very, very negative sort of ROI. But I was like, I couldn't figure out, but that kind of made me more determined as well. I'm like, the more I saw other people who make it work, I was like, it's got to be something I'm doing. So I kept trying different stuff, and but that was in a way that was a good thing to keep me motivated. If I didn't hear case studies of other people who actually made it work later, I probably wouldn't have gone back there. So I mean, that self-doubt probably would have taken over, and I'm quite go ahead.
No, just one test. So when you were trying to make it work, and I know you made it work because I know more about your business. So what happened that like 4 years trying to make it, losing 90% of your Google traffic, spending money, time, self-doubt. So what happened that it made it work?
Right. So later on, so I looked at some of these case studies and stuff, and then what happened was actually that I started the e-commerce business, and then with the e-commerce business, I tried a few different experiments, and one of the experiments that I did for the e-commerce stuff really, really, really kind of just knocked it out of the park. I mean, the ROI on that was just absolutely phenomenal. And then I realized that it was actually the way that I positioned the offer. So when I did the Mandarin stuff, I was stuck in a mindset of treating it like AdWords. I didn't think about the fact that this is interruption marketing, whereas on AdWords, it's not interruption marketing. They're kind of coming to you. They're actively looking for this sort of thing, and when I understood, and then I started to better understand sort of the psychology behind. And so after the e-commerce campaign, what it sort of told me is that Facebook can work very, very well, and that the potential for it is massive, and that I really wasn't applying the principles well for the Mandarin stuff as well. So then that's when I realized that I'd been doing the whole thing wrong, and that you should not treat the traffic, all traffic sources the same way. Some of the traffic sources need to be slightly modified for the right audience as well. And by that stage, well, the other thing that came about is that the targeting, it advanced a lot as well. So yeah, so the few factors that one is a shift in psychology, so shift in thinking. Two is that Facebook became more advanced, and three, it gave me I put in effort, but I put in that effort without that much confidence that was going to work. I mean, if something was really, really working well, I'd spend a lot more than this, 500 grand or whatever. So when I saw that I actually could work well, it gave me confidence in the fact that, oh, wow, this is actually something that will work well as long as you do it right, So then that gave me renewed focus on getting that part right. And then I brought the lessons from the different sort of space, the e-commerce space, into the sort of info product space. And then sort of things really sort of clicked into place. So then, that renewed effort sort of brought a new energy and new focus and a new perspective into that. Maybe one of the things that during that process, I probably just didn't have that sense of confidence that this thing was going to succeed, and but I constantly, I try to not like operate on too many assumptions. So I just, I just thought, I tested with the e-commerce stuff, just see whether or not it works. I had all these failures with Facebook, and I just didn't think that was going to work. But I was like, you know what? Stuff the assumptions, whatever you think, let's just put it to the test, let the market decide, and see what actually happens.
You persevered all this time. A lot of people would give up, and I know I gave up several times with paid ads. So if someone would be starting and not having result with paid ads, so based on, you mentioned several big learnings in the whole process, what would you say to someone who is trying to make it work with Facebook ads?
I would say definitely learn as much as possible. Learn from people who you trust. If you know someone personally who's done very well, then learn from them, and then get started. Try experiment with stuff. The most important thing about, I think, getting Facebook right is the learning part, because there is a lot of learning involved, but also disciplines in terms of you've got to be doing it constantly. And then the great thing about Facebook is that you get results almost immediately. So but the fact that you don't get a result means that you're not doing something right. So you get to keep testing, iterating. The thing with AdWords is that, you got to wait until first of all, you have to wait for the ad get approved. And after you wait for the ad get approved, go wait for somebody to search for the keyword as well. And if you're in a super, niche category, you might not get searches for a week, and then it might not be statistically significant. So if with Facebook, you get traffic almost straight away. And so you get to test constantly. So if you are disciplined about it, and if you develop a process about it, you should be able to keep iterating until you hit something which works well. And then the other thing as well is that if you find other people who are advertising in your industry or doing similar products, whatever, you can also take a look at their campaigns and see what they've been doing. There are websites out there where you can see whether or not they've advertised on Facebook and how well the ads have done. You can see how many likes they got, how many shares. Generally, the ones that do very, very well will have a good amount of shares. A good amount of likes. Sometimes they'll have a good amount of shares. Sometimes they have a lot of comments, whatever. So that can be, and then you can opt in and you can go through the whole process, and there's like a funnel if they have one, and just see what they've done. You're not going to. So that's one part of it. And the other thing as well is that the emotional part is going to be because unless it works from day one, which is quite rare. The emotional part is going to play a role as well. So the other thing as well is, I would just say that you've got to have confidence in the fact that it will work, and you've just got to have the right pieces in place for it to work. So the ad's got to be right, targeting's got to be right, the landing page got to be right, and they've kind of got to more or less sort of click into place to have a.
Sorry, go ahead.
To have fairly good results. So I guess if you just today, you spend $10 a day or $5 a day, and then tomorrow spend $5, and you're like, okay, that's not too bad. But then after some period of time, it still doesn't work, and then it's very easy to give up on it and say that, you know, it just doesn't work. I'm spending all this money. I'm wasting all this money that I could be using on something else, and it's just not working. You know, so definitely having the sort of, you know, the that perseverance to sort of keep going and keep testing, keep trying, because you can make it work. It's just about getting that combination right, and sometimes that takes time, you know. But if you can shortcut a lot of that, if you have the right people to talk to, so if you have the right people to talk to, you can sort of shortcut some of it, not all of it, obviously, but you can. There are a few things that you can shortcut.
You still have to learn the craft. Yeah, and what you're saying, it's interesting. What you're saying that applies to Facebook ads, applies to many other things in succeeding in business. Also, you said getting a mentor or good resource that you trust. You say modeling others that are doing already successful. You said that mindset of testing. Everything is a test, and then that perseverance that comes. Like you can literally apply that to any area, like whether it's like a sales page, sales funnel, whether it's, you know, any conversion point, any traffic channel. It's really universal principles. And, you know, you went from, as you say, spending 500 to 1,000 a month testing and not getting results for 4 years and still persevering, to suddenly getting all these mindset shifts and getting to the point where it's, you know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest driver in your business of traffic, where you spend, you know, much larger amounts and tens of thousands a month. And we won't talk about that, but, you know, you get at the point where you have that discipline and knowledge and confidence, and to use that as one of your most powerful weapons, which is incredible, right? And it started by getting a Google slap and forcing to learn Facebook ads. So one last question I'd like to ask you is, how do you, as an entrepreneur, and you're also creator type entrepreneur, have a lot of ideas, do a lot of things at the same time sometimes. So how do you manage fear of failure on a daily basis, like from day to day, week to week?
So I think initially,
you start working on something. Let's say to put you in this mindset, you have an idea, you start sketching, or you have a new Facebook ad, or you have a new Amazon product, or you have this and that, and you start working on it, and suddenly you have this crippling feeling inside of you, oh shit, this may not going to work, right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, so now, I mean, so now before I start with a new product, whatever, I'll done a good amount of research, and I'm not emotionally as invested in new things as I used to be. I mean, before, because if something didn't work, that kind of meant that my lifestyle and everything would be impacted, and it meant a lot more. And so the emotional roller coaster was much more up and down. So I guess, so initially, so before sort of, so now, I mean, so now there's a lot more certainty that I know that if this fucks up, then the revenues are still going to come, and salaries are still going to be paid and everything. So I don't have that fear that I used to have. Now, if it doesn't work, I'll give it a good try, and I'll make sure that, you know, make sure that we you know, like it gets a reasonable shot before we kill the project or anything. But
without getting emotionally attached, as you say.
Yeah, I try not to attach any emotions to it. I mean, like the thing is that before, you know, like when I was first doing it, there was a lot more emotions involved. Partly because, you know, my living would depend on it, and the other thing as well is that other people's expectations, how they perceived me, all that stuff played a very big role. And I didn't have I didn't have the confidence of knowing that, you know, that okay, if this project doesn't work, then this other project might work, you know. And so I wouldn't be so kind of emotionally. So I mean, if it doesn't work, you know, I'm okay with it. You know, I don't. I mean, there's no single idea that I have that I really love that I can't kill. You know, I mean, there are a lot of what I might do is it might not be that I have to kill it. It might be that I just need to change it. I need to modify it somewhat. You know, and I'm okay with that. I don't have a I mean, I'm if you spend like a huge amount of time on one idea and you only pursue that idea, eventually you start to expect that the idea has to work well, and then, or you know, you become so emotionally committed, invested in that idea that it's more difficult to let it go, and then, you know, and then you sort of, you know, it has a different sort of effect on you. But I think for me now, like, I mean, the other thing as well is also like trusting the process and trusting sort of that that if we go through the process and everything, that if it's meant to work, then it's going to work. And I'm gonna obviously do my best to make sure that, because I mean, first of all, in your research process, you want to make sure that there's a high probability that it actually will succeed. And then if it doesn't succeed, then you take away key learnings. Or was there something in the research that was wrong? Was there something in the execution that was wrong? I mean, sometimes you can have a really, really amazing idea, but you have execution risk. You might not have executed properly, which is maybe why it failed. If it's an execution risk, there's a lot of key learnings to develop from that and to try it again, or if it was an idea problem, then why was it not picked up in the research process? And I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, it does. I mean, for sure. I mean, I think that the getting emotionally detached from ideas also comes with that entrepreneurial maturity as well. I think it's hard for a lot of people who step into entrepreneurship and online business, and especially if their living depends on it. Like, that emotional attachment can literally put them in desperation mode. So I think it's really powerful what you're saying, because. Yeah, go ahead.
I know people who quit their jobs. They have children, and they're spending their entire life saving on developing the idea without
one idea, typically, like one
idea with no validation, no testing, and that seems. I think that's a risky move to make, if you have an income source, it's a different story. But if you don't have an income source and you're hoping for this one thing to pay off, you've got to be really, really certain about something like that.
Yeah, and from investment perspective, I know you're big on finance and so on. I think in finance they call it asymmetrical risk reward. So where it's smart to have a high upside potentially and a very small downside, so you kind of protect your risk. In this case, where let's say you quit your job and you invest everything in one idea and you don't have any income sources, basically you have potentially a big upside, but your downside is huge. And so it just really doesn't, from a investment perspective, just not smart. But a lot of people still do it because they get emotional.
You're 100% spot on with that, and that's exactly how I look at investments as well. Is that if the downside risk is big, generally it's just not worth it. If the downside risk is relatively small and there's a huge upside potential, that's the ideal investment to make. And you phrased that. I
just read it somewhere. I'm not that smart. I don't know much about finance. But I read it somewhere.
Well, let's just say you came up with that.
Yeah, it's just all invented right now out of extreme approaches. All right. So, Rui, thanks so much for this conversation. So this will be really, really interesting for people, especially if you were, Facebook ads is all the rage these days. I think it's going to be very, very relevant. And one last question: how can people find you and learn more about what you do, your thoughts, your journey into entrepreneurship?
So I have a blog. I try to keep it up to date and write more, but haven't done a very good job doing that. But people can go to the blog and check out sort of my thoughts every now and then.
What's the URL?
ruidong.com. Yeah, you can put a link on the website as well. So
I'll add it to the website.
Check it out. But I don't keep it updated as often as I'd like, although I hope I will one day.
All right. So thank you so much again, and have a great rest of the stay in Australia. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.